2 assists. That is all it took to nearly erase the most significant statistical achievement in WNBA history. On a Friday night in Indianapolis, Caitlin Clark delivered 2 passes so precise, so perfectly timed, that the crowd lost its mind both times the ball left her hands. But when the final box score dropped, those 2 moments had simply vanished. Gone. As if they never happened. And what made that disappearance so dangerous was not the mistake itself. It was what those 2 missing numbers actually represented. A record that Sue Bird never reached twice. A record that Diana Taurasi never reached twice. A record that nobody in 28 years of professional women's basketball had ever reached twice. Clark had done it. The footage proved it. The rulebook supported it. But the official record said otherwise. And once the internet got hold of the clips, the league had approximately 48 hours before the pressure became impossible to survive.
Well, the Fever are coming off a win in LA less than 48 hours ago. It is Washington's first game since Sunday. And now it's Clark. Handoff, Mitchell. It's a 3! It's a 3-point game!
Here is exactly what happened. Drop a comment. Do you think the WNBA made an honest mistake, or was something deeper going on? Before we get into all of it, if you are new here, this channel is where we take the biggest stories in sports and break them down in a way that actually makes sense. No fluff, no filler, just straight analysis and honest opinions. If that sounds like something you want more of, hit that subscribe button right now, because we cover this stuff every single week, and you do not want to miss what is coming. And if you are already part of the Simply Explained family, welcome back. Now let us get into exactly what happened inside that arena, because once you see how this all unfolded piece by piece, you are going to understand why so many people are absolutely furious right now. Picture a Friday night in Indianapolis.
Clark, she got another! Second 3 of the quarter for Caitlin Clark.
May 15th, 2026. Gainbridge Fieldhouse is packed wall to wall, every seat filled, every phone raised, every voice waiting for something nobody yet knows is coming. The Indiana Fever are hosting the Washington Mystics, and from the opening tip, Caitlin Clark looks different. Not different in a subtle way. Different in the way that makes seasoned basketball analysts stop mid-sentence and just watch. Every dribble carries intention. Every glance toward a teammate means something. Every step she takes seems planned 3 moves in advance. The crowd reacts to her touches the way crowds react to musicians hitting exactly the right note at exactly the right moment. The game swings back and forth through 4 quarters of pure chaos. Washington claws ahead. Indiana fights back. Both teams refuse to die. Then in the 4th quarter, Clark makes 2 passes that should have lived in the record book forever. The first is a baseline wraparound to Monique Billings, the kind of delivery that takes years to learn and a split second to execute perfectly. Billings rises. The shot is pure, 3 points, the comeback is alive. The second comes minutes later. A shovel pass, no look, threaded straight into Kelsey Mitchell's shooting pocket. Mitchell fires from beyond the arc without a moment of hesitation. 3 more. The arena loses its mind completely. The game is tied. Overtime is coming.
Billings battling underneath. And Billings knocks it down.
Her first touches looking good.
Indiana loses in overtime. Clark walks off with 32 points. But the box score already has a problem nobody has caught yet. Within hours of the final buzzer, the clips were already everywhere. TikTok, X, Reddit, YouTube. Every platform simultaneously hosting the same 2 plays on a loop, while the basketball community asked the same question from every possible angle.
And Washington survives!
Gotta give it to Washington at the same time. Tremendous job closing that one out.
How does a baseline wraparound that lands perfectly in a shooter's hands and produces a made 3 not count as an assist? How does a shovel pass delivered with surgical precision into Kelsey Mitchell's shooting pocket get left completely off the official record? Fans were not just complaining. They were building cases. The WNBA rulebook got pulled up publicly. Analysts walked through the official definition of an assist line by line. Former players weighed in on social media. Broadcasters started asking questions on air. And then, a layer of the conversation emerged that added an entirely different kind of pressure to the situation. Sports bettors. Anyone who had wagered on Caitlin Clark's assist totals that night had been quietly affected by a single scorekeeper's oversight. That is not a minor detail in 2026, when sports betting is deeply woven into how millions of people engage with professional basketball, every single night. The pressure built rapidly. Screenshots multiplied. Clips spread further. The story shifted from whether a mistake had been made to whether the league was actually going to acknowledge it and correct it publicly. Every hour the WNBA stayed silent, the noise got louder. And the record sitting just behind that corrected number was far too significant for anyone inside or outside the basketball world to let this quietly disappear.
Finn on Billings. Finn spins, fires, and the bank shot goes down.
Stop and think about what those 2 missing assists actually represented. This was not a rounding error on a routine stat line. This was not a minor correction to a forgettable performance in a meaningless mid-season game. Those 2 assists were the difference between a great night and a genuinely historic one. And the history involved was staggering in a way that even casual fans could immediately understand once it was spelled out clearly. With those 2 assists restored, Caitlin Clark would officially become the first player in WNBA history to record multiple games with 30 or more points and 10 or more assists. That combination is one of the most demanding thresholds in professional basketball. It requires a player to be simultaneously dominant as a scorer and completely selfless as a distributor. It demands physical endurance, mental sharpness under pressure, and a level of court vision that most professional players spend entire careers trying to develop and never fully reach. Sue Bird reached that threshold once in her entire career. Diana Taurasi reached it once. Sabrina Ionescu reached it once. Maya Moore reached it once. Some players who gave a full decade to this league never got there at all. Clark had done it twice before turning 25. But the official record did not reflect that yet. And somewhere in Indianapolis, Clark had woken up that Saturday morning, possibly completely unaware that a record she had genuinely and undeniably earned had been quietly removed from her name by a single scorekeeper working a Friday night game who missed 2 plays. Behind the scenes, the conversation had already started before most people finished their Saturday morning coffee. The Indiana Fever knew exactly what had happened.
Another deep 3 for Clark, her second. She's got 10 points in 12 minutes.
Their media team was ready. Sources close to the organization confirmed the situation was being escalated internally, while public pressure continued building at full speed online. League executives in New York were receiving calls they almost certainly did not want to field on a quiet weekend morning, and the window for a clean, low-drama resolution was closing fast. What made the situation particularly difficult for the WNBA was the transparency problem modern sports creates. In 2026, nothing stays hidden. Every play is clipped and uploaded within seconds of happening. Every controversial moment gets analyzed from multiple angles before the arena even finishes emptying. A league growing at the speed the WNBA is currently growing cannot afford visible errors involving its most watched player, especially when those errors directly affect historical records that the entire basketball world is now paying close attention to. Then quietly, without fanfare, the correction came. Just hours before the Indiana Fever faced the Seattle Storm on May 17th, the league officially restored both assists to Clark's stat line. No dramatic press conference, no lengthy public apology, no detailed explanation of how the error occurred in the first place. Just 2 numbers placed back where they had always belonged. And with those 2 numbers, everything changed instantly. Caitlin Clark officially became the first player in WNBA history to record multiple games with 30 or more points and 10 or more assists. History confirmed. Record official. Here is where the story stops being about one corrected stat sheet and starts being about something that genuinely challenges the boundaries of basketball logic. Because once those 2 assists were officially restored, the full picture of what Caitlin Clark has already built in just 57 professional appearances came into sharp, almost uncomfortable focus. Clark now holds 12 career games with 20 or more points and 10 or more assists. That is the all-time WNBA record. The player sitting in second place is Courtney Vandersloot, a future Hall of Famer.
A little startling to question that here for a couple quarters. An inbound to Citron as Washington just continues to pour it on.
One of the most complete and decorated point guards women's basketball has ever produced. A player who has been running professional offenses at the highest level for well over a decade. Vandersloot has 11 such games to her name. Clark has 12, simple enough on the surface. Until you look at the career appearances column sitting right next to those numbers. Vandersloot reached 11 across nearly 450 professional appearances. Clark reached 12 in just 57. That means Clark is producing that statistical combination at roughly 8 times the efficiency rate of the second greatest player ever to accomplish it. She also became the first player in WNBA history to record 20 or more points and 10 or more assists in fewer than 25 minutes of game time. She played 23 minutes that night. She became the first player ever to open a WNBA season with 4 consecutive games of at least 20 points and 5 assists.
Women's sports. She fills arenas night after night, and her games have smashed TV viewership records.
Not Maya Moore, not Lisa Leslie, not anyone in 28 years, until Clark made it look almost routine. What happened on May 15th was never really about 2 missing assists. It became a symbol of something the entire league is still visibly processing in real time. The WNBA has fought for consistent national attention for nearly 3 decades. Now that attention has finally arrived, and it arrived faster, louder, and more powerfully than anyone inside the league's offices appears to have fully anticipated. And it arrived almost entirely because of one player. The Indiana Fever became the first franchise in WNBA history to surpass 1 million Instagram followers. Just a few seasons ago, Indiana struggled to fill sections of their own arena during weekday home games.
Caitlin Clark and the revolution in women's sports. So,
now opposing teams are moving games to larger venues whenever the Fever travel to town, purely to handle the spike in ticket demand. Television ratings climb consistently when Clark plays. Merchandise sales have shattered league records. Casual fans who had never watched a single WNBA game in their lives are now building their weekly schedules around Indiana Fever tip-off times. That kind of cultural shift does not happen gradually or by accident. It happens because one player arrives who changes the entire gravitational field of a sport almost overnight. And when a league is experiencing that level of growth at that kind of speed, every visible mistake gets amplified far beyond its original size. The stat correction mattered to fans not simply because of the record. It mattered because the league's handling of its most important moment in a generation was being watched by more people than ever before.
Clark on pace to be the first player in D1 history to lead the nation in scoring in 3 different seasons.
And everyone was paying very close attention. When reporters asked Caitlin Clark about the corrected record after the next game, she did not deliver the kind of response most people expected. There was no frustration about what had been temporarily taken from her. No public campaign demanding recognition. No carefully worded statement through a publicist designed to put pressure on the league. Instead, she smiled and said that breaking a record 2 days after actually breaking it might itself be a first. And then she moved on. That response told the basketball world something important, something that box scores and highlight reels cannot fully capture. Clark does not chase records the way some athletes chase headlines. She does not perform for the cameras in moments where the cameras are clearly already pointed at her. She lets her game speak. She lets her passes speak. She lets the scoreboard speak. And when the scoreboard is corrected by a league that had no other option, she laughs about it and prepares for the next game. That kind of composure at 24 years old, in the middle of a public controversy directly involving her own legacy, is not something that can be coached or manufactured. It is either there or it is not. And for Clark, it has been there from the beginning.
The all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball.
It is a large part of why fans connect with her so deeply beyond the highlights and the records. She is genuinely difficult to dislike, even for people who came into watching her fully prepared to try. And that combination of talent and character is what makes her genuinely dangerous long-term. The records still ahead of Caitlin Clark no longer feel like distant possibilities sitting somewhere far down the road. They feel like scheduled stops on a journey that is already well underway.
she fills arenas night after night, and her games have smashed TV viewership records.
Career assists record, all-time three-point totals, multiple MVP awards, scoring titles, and eventually the one record that would complete the full picture of basketball greatness at the professional level, a championship. All of it suddenly feels realistic rather than aspirational when you look honestly at the pace she is moving. What makes that pace so difficult to fully process is the context around it. Clark is only in her third professional season. The statistical foundation she has already built, the records, the firsts, the impossible efficiency numbers, is not the peak. It is the ground floor. The actual building has not even started going up yet. And the players, coaches, and front offices around the league know exactly what that means for the next 5 to 10 years.
College basketball sensation Caitlin Clark, she broke the NCAA women's all-time scoring record.
Statisticians are already running out of existing categories to fully capture what she produces on the floor night after night. New benchmarks are being created specifically because the old ones were never designed with a player like her in mind. That is not hype. That is a structural response to someone genuinely operating outside the boundaries the sport previously understood. The scariest part for every other team in this league is not where Caitlin Clark is right now. It is where she is clearly, visibly, undeniably headed, and she is moving faster than anyone expected. 2 missing assists became one of the most talked about moments in WNBA history, not because the mistake was malicious, not because the league refused to fix it, but because of what those 2 numbers revealed about where women's basketball stands right now and how rapidly everything around it is moving. Caitlin Clark has 12 career games with 20 or more points and 10 or more assists in just 57 appearances. She has broken a threshold twice that legends only reached once. She is 24 years old and still visibly improving her range, her vision, and her understanding of the game at the professional level every single week. The records still ahead of her no longer feel like distant destinations. They feel like the next logical steps for a player who has already rewritten what this league thought was possible. The scariest part for everyone else is simple. She is nowhere near finished yet. Subscribe to Simply Explained for more deep dives into the stories behind the biggest moments in sports, culture, and entertainment. Like this video if you think those assists should have counted from the start.
Stay locked with my channel, Simply Explained, for further WNBA updates.